There is a bicycle with wheels that have no hubs, and another whose carbon frame was printed by a robot instead of built by hand. Both of them went viral. Both raised millions of dollars from ordinary people. However, you cannot buy either one today, and the real reasons are stranger than you would expect. Number 10. The Angell and the weld that ended everything. In 2019, a French entrepreneur named Marc Simoncini decided the city bike needed a screen. The Angell arrived with a color display built into the handlebar, turn-by-turn navigation, an integrated alarm, and a frame so clean it looked like an Apple product had learned to ride. Simoncini was already a household name in France as an investor and a judge on the French version of Shark Tank, so the launch coverage was enormous. Manufacturing went to Seb, the industrial group behind Fuell and Moulinex, at a factory near Dijon. Then BMW came calling, and Angell was chosen to build the first Mini-branded electric bike. That is about as strong a start as a hardware startup gets, with backing from a household manufacturer, a partnership with one of the most recognizable car brands on earth, and a limited-run Mini e-bike 1 going up for pre-order in the autumn of 2023. In January 2025, Simoncini posted a short message. "It is over for Angell," he wrote. A hardware problem had ended the adventure. The hardware problem was the frame. In a letter to customers, the company explained that the frames carried a risk of breaking and traced the defect to the welding where the tubes joined together. A bicycle frame is the one component that cannot fail. Angell did not build its own frames. It designed the experience and handed the metal to someone else. That distinction is going to come back several times before we reach number 1. Number 9. Serial 1 and the weight of a famous badge. Harley-Davidson started this one quietly as a skunkworks project inside its product development center in Milwaukee in 2018. The name came from the oldest known Harley in existence, the 1903 machine the company still calls Serial Number 1. In 2020, the electric bike project became its own brand, and the following year it was spun out as an independent company working from a small brick building behind the main Harley factory. The bikes were genuinely good. The Rush/CTY used a Bros mid-drive, a Gates carbon belt instead of a chain, and an automatic shifting Enviolo hub, so the bike changed gears for you as you rolled through city traffic. Reviewers liked them. The launch films, all polished chrome and Milwaukee brickwork, collected millions of views. Then the arithmetic arrived. Premium mid-drive commuters were landing at $3,000 and $4,000 in a market where direct-to-consumer brands were shipping perfectly capable bikes for under $1,500. Serial 1 found itself squeezed from above by Specialized and Trek, and from below by a wall of online newcomers. In November 2023, roughly 3 years after the debut, Serial 1 was sold to LEV Manufacturing, a Florida light electric vehicle company, with the mobility investor Lane VC also involved. The plan was to move assembly from Taiwan to Deerfield Beach and bring prices down. A Harley badge gets people to click. It does not get them to spend an extra $2,000 on a commuter bicycle. That gap between attention and willingness to pay is where an enormous amount of viral hardware quietly disappears. Number 8. The Ampler Nova and the lease that outlived the boom. This one surprises people because Ampler did almost everything right. The Estonian company launched in 2014 and spent a decade proving that an urban electric bike could be slim, quiet, and light at a time when most of the categories still meant a heavy motor and a battery bolted onto the rear rack. Over those 10 years, Ampler sold more than 28,000 bikes across Europe. In 2025, it launched the Nova and the Nova Pro, among the first commercially available electric bikes that charged over USB-C, and the Nova took a Eurobike award for it. Then in May 2026, Ampler filed for bankruptcy with the Harju District Court in Estonia and laid off its 50 employees. The trigger was not the product, it was a shop. Back in 2021, Ampler had signed a 10-year lease on a flagship showroom in Berlin. When the market cooled, the company spent 18 months trying to renegotiate the terms or hand the space back. The landlord wanted roughly 1.2 million euros to release them from the agreement. That figure sat on the balance sheet like an anchor, and the lead investor, Urban Mobility, walked away from further funding rather than pour fresh capital into a rent bill. Ampler had already restructured close to 10 million euros of debt and was still turning over revenue in early 2026. None of it was enough. A signature from the boom years survived the boom itself. If you own one, there is a small mercy. Ampler built around standard components, so most bike shops in Europe can still service it. Number 7. The Superstrata Ion. In July 2020, a campaign appeared on Indiegogo promising the world's first custom, 3D printed, unibody carbon fiber bicycle. There was no seat tube at all. The frame was to be printed as one continuous piece by a robot arm, sized to your exact body in one of thousands of possible geometries. The electric version was called the Ion. The internet lost its mind. $2.4 million arrived within in days. By the time the campaign closed that October, the total sat above $7.1 million from roughly 4,500 backers, one of the largest bicycle crowdfunding hauls ever recorded. Experienced cyclists spotted problems almost immediately. Promotional photos showed a chain running across a cassette with no derailleur anywhere in frame. There was nowhere obvious to mount a bottle cage. Saddle height adjustment looked severely limited by that missing seat tube. The valves were comically long. What eventually shipped, years late, bore only a passing resemblance to the renders. The carbon wheels shown all over the campaign were quietly delayed and then never reached many backers at all. Metal inserts turned up at the seat post, headset, and bottom bracket on a frame advertised as industrial-grade carbon fiber and nothing else. Reviewers who finally rode a production unit described a bicycle that was uncomfortable, roughly finished, and unpleasant to ride. By 2023, the parent company, Revo, had told Vietnamese press it was winding down operations there, citing rising costs and a finished product that could not compete. Backers were left arguing with a customer service chat agent about refunds. The printing was real. The bicycle underneath it was not. Number 6. The Revo. If one machine on this list explains the whole phenomenon, it is this one. The Revo appeared in 2020 with hubless wheels, spokeless, open through the middle, the kind of thing you normally only see in concept art for a science fiction city. It had a single-sided fork, a fingerprint scanner instead of a key, integrated lighting, turn signals, airless tires, and cargo space inside the wheel itself. The promo footage looked like an outtake from Tron. It raised over $6.7 million on Indiegogo. Roughly 2,700 people ordered one. The company's own final update in the summer of 2023 claimed nearly 1,900 bikes had shipped, though independent reporting has put the number actually delivered at closer to 150. Either way, the website then went dark, the social channels vanished, and the company behind it stopped answering anyone. The strangest detail belongs to the units that did ship. On some delivered bikes, the company name on the frame had been covered over with a piece of tape. The riders who received one discovered exactly why hubless wheels are not standard. Without a hub, there is nowhere conventional to mount a brake, so stopping power was poor. The drive system produced a loud mechanical whirring under pedaling and under motor, so quiet riding was impossible. The whole machine was heavy, slow, and effectively unrepairable because no shop on earth stocks parts for a wheel with no center. When Seth Alvo of the channel Berm Peak finally tracked one down on eBay years later, he called it the worst bicycle in the whole world, while also saying he did not believe the team ever set out to scam anyone. They genuinely thought it was going to work. That is probably the truest thing anyone has said about crowdfunded hardware. Number 5. The Fuell Fluid. And the Fuell Eric Buell is a legitimately legendary name in American motorcycling. He built race machines, ran his own mark under the Harley-Davidson umbrella, and then went looking for whatever came next. What came next was Fuell, founded in 2019 with a plan to bridge motorcycles and electric bicycles. The Fluid was pitched with a Vallejo mid-drive, an automatic transmission, and dual battery packs, and marketed as the longest-range electric bike in the world. The Fuell was the bigger swing. A full electric commuter motorcycle claiming around 150 miles of range and roughly 47 horsepower, reservable for $100 against a final price near $14,000. Fuell's name did the heavy lifting. Backers put in around $4,000 each for the Fluid and close to $10,000 for the Fuell. Across an Indiegogo campaign and a separate pre-launch campaign, Fuell raised over $5 million. On the 16th of October 2024, Fuell filed for Chapter 7 in the Eastern District of Wisconsin. The filing made the situation plain. The company had little to no funds and no employees left to answer creditor questions. A Wisconsin warehouse held some electric bike parts. For the motorcycle backers, there was reportedly not much more than CAD drawings. The following year, the remaining assets, including the trademark, the website, and the patents, went to auction and brought in around $170,000 against roughly $7 million owed to creditors. A brilliant engineer and a functioning supply chain are two completely different things, and only one of them ships bikes. Number 4. The Sondors Metacycle. In early 2021, Sondors unveiled an electric motorcycle that looked like a prop from a near-future film. A single cast aluminum beam, no visible frame tubes, all LED lighting. The price was the headline. $5,000. With a promised top speed of 80 miles per hour and 80 miles of range, Sondors already had history. The company had burst onto the scene in 2015 with a $500 electric bike that plenty of people assumed was a scam, and it delivered, late and under spec. That became the pattern. With the Metacycle, customers paid up front. The timeline slipped by months, then by close to a year. Some asked for refunds and received them. Others waited. Deliveries eventually began in late 2022, and import records suggest somewhere between 1,400 and 1,500 units reached customers. The bikes that arrived did not hit the promised figures, though plenty of riders still found them genuinely enjoyable commuters. Then came the photographs. Electrek published images of Chinese factory warehouses stacked with thousands of Metacycles, some complete, some partly assembled, that Sondors had reportedly stopped paying for. The Los Angeles headquarters appeared on Google Maps as permanently closed. The company was forced into receivership in late 2023. The most damaging details surfaced afterwards from a former Sondors director of project management and engineering who had spent nearly 8 years at Zero Motorcycles. Speaking on a podcast in 2024, he described the Metacycle as never having been street legal in the first place. A $5,000 price tag is a marketing decision. Homologation, testing, and certification are engineering ones, and they do not care what anyone promised on stage. Number 3. Juiced Bikes and the Hyper Scorpion. Juiced was founded in 2009 by Tora Harris, an Olympic high jumper, and for 15 years it was the brand you bought when you wanted your electric bike to feel fast. The Hyper Scorpion was the icon. A moped-styled machine with a 52-volt battery, upright bars, mirrors, turn signals, a genuinely loud horn, spokeless retro moto wheels, and enough road presence that drivers actually saw you coming. Juiced helped bring 52-volt systems to a mainstream audience and built one of the most devoted followings in the entire category. In 2024, the brand simply went quiet. Customers described being ghosted by support. Bikes sat in service limbo with no answer about when they might come back. Orders placed months earlier never shipped. The website eventually showed every product out of stock, which turned out to be somebody inside the company doing the honorable thing, zeroing the inventory so no more money would come in for bikes that were never going to leave the building. By October 2024, everything was at auction. Inventory, tooling in China, patents, intellectual property, even the branded Sprinter van. The whole lot sold for roughly $1.2 million, and the sale did not include warranty parts, which left existing owners hunting third-party suppliers for batteries and controllers. In 2025, the founders of Electrek bought the brand and began rebuilding it, saying openly that repairing support for the existing owner base was the first priority. Loyalty is real, and it is worth a great deal. It still does not pay a factory invoice. Number 2. Rad Power Bikes. This is the big one in North America. Rad launched in 2015, selling capable electric bikes under $2,000 straight to people who had never once walked into a bike shop. The Radrunner and the Radwagon became the default American electric bike, the ones locked outside every coffee shop from Seattle to Brooklyn. The pandemic turned that into a rocket. Rad raised over $300 million, called itself the largest electric bike seller in North America, and reached a valuation of $1.65 billion in late 2021. Revenue that year was around $318 million. By 2025, it was roughly $63 million. The direct model that made Rad affordable also made Rad responsible for servicing hundreds of thousands of bikes built from proprietary parts. The company closed its mobile service division, laid off staff across 7 separate rounds, withdrew from Europe, shut service stores, and cycled through 4 chief executives in 3 years. Then, on the 24th of November 2025, the Consumer Product Safety Commission issued a public warning covering 3 battery models across 9 Rad bikes, citing 31 reported fires, some of which started while the battery was neither in use nor charging. Rad declined a full recall, telling the agency it would be financially ruinous, and publicly stood behind its batteries. 21 days later, on the 15th of December, Rad filed for Chapter 11 with $32 million in assets against $72.8 million in liabilities. In March 2026, the brand sold for $13.2 million. Number 1. VanMoof. Two brothers, Taco and Thijs Carlier, started VanMoof in Amsterdam in 2009 with an idea that sounds obvious now and was radical then. Make the electric bike one sealed object. Battery inside the frame, motherboard inside the frame, electronic shifter, SIM card, GPS tracker and alarm, all tucked in there with them. No cables, no clutter, just a single anodized aluminum shape gliding along the canals. It worked. The S3 became the bike that people who did not care about bikes actually wanted, and the press started calling VanMoof the Tesla of electric bikes. In September 2021, the company closed a round worth $128 million, earmarked for production capacity, new technology, and better reliability. The reliability never arrived. Because everything was custom, almost nothing could be repaired by an ordinary shop. One Amsterdam mechanic told NPR he would only touch VanMoof tires because the frames were sealed so tightly that nobody outside the company could get inside them. Owners waited weeks. Warranty claims steadily ate the margin on every bike sold. VanMoof lost close to 80 million euros in 2021, and roughly the same again the year after. In June 2023, the company stopped taking new orders. In July, an Amsterdam court declared it bankrupt. 800 people lost their jobs, and thousands of riders were left holding beautiful machines that only VanMoof could service. The brand did survive. Lavoie, part of McLaren Applied, bought it a month later and rebuilt the components that had been failing, co-designing parts with large manufacturers specifically so that availability would never again depend on one company staying alive. Line all 10 of them up and a pattern appears that has very little to do with whether people liked the bikes. Every machine here went viral for the same underlying reason. They looked like the future. Hubless wheels, printed carbon, sealed frames, screens in the handlebars, a $5,000 motorcycle. That is exactly the kind of image that travels across a feed at speed. And traveling across a feed is a completely different job from surviving a wet Tuesday commute 3 winters later. When a bearing goes and you need one specific part, the electric bike market did not collapse, by the way. Globally, it is still growing. And in several of Europe's biggest markets, electric models now make up close to half of every bicycle sold. What ended was the boom. Post-pandemic demand normalized, warehouses stayed full, discounts of 20 to 30% became routine, and in the United States, tariffs on Chinese electric bikes climbed steeply. Cheap capital dried up at the same moment. Brands that had been spending to grow suddenly had to survive on unit economics instead. The companies still standing tend to share a fairly boring set of traits, like standard components, real repairability, honest range claims, and a service network that already exists before anyone actually needs it. So if you are shopping right now, ask one question before you even look at the spec sheet. If this company disappeared tomorrow, could a local shop still fix this bike? If the answer is no, you are not really buying a bicycle. You are buying a subscription to somebody else's survival. Slover, if you want more stories like this one, and we will keep riding.